everybody. Good showing today. Indeed, it's wonderful outside. I'm actually upstate New York skiing, so I'll have to scooch out a little bit early. I have another meeting and then I have to go get kids from the mountain, hopefully in one piece. So quick updates. Well, I mean, I think we're on pins and needles because of some international stories. I'm not going to go there. Feels like the stressors never decrease, do they? So California is the first state to officially move from pandemic to endemic. Do I need to explain what that means? Can I see a show of hands? Do I need to explain this? Well, let me explain it just quickly because I don't know if everybody understands the difference. So basically, endemic, we can say that in the bad years, we have an endemic flu. It means that we know that the problem exists. We know that it's going to come and go. We know it's going to be affecting all of us potentially, but it's not at the point where you worry about global impact on the society, meaning it's a problem that can be dealt with. So that's the difference between pandemic and endemic. So it's basically downgrading the situation. It's a very big deal. And the fact that California says it first, I think it's also a very big deal because it basically sets the tone. It's one of the larger states. It's one of the states that actually have, in a way, how they handle the pandemic has been a bit more conservative. So I think we are going to see the rest of the states quickly follow. News number one. News number two, it looks like there's going to be no vaccination mandates in district. They were just the proposal that was put in originally was struck down. There was another attempt and that got canceled today again. So those of you who, for whatever reason, decided not to get vaccinated, I'm not going to go there. You are not going to be required to get vaccinated to go to different businesses. So there's going to be no mandate. Now, businesses theoretically allowed to make their own internal mandates. It's very unlikely they will do it. And then of course you heard that there's multiple states that are dropping mask mandates as well. So that I do want to talk a little bit about. I actually think that it's really important that we continue masking. I will continue masking in every situation I feel even moderate risk. So when I'm on skiing, I'm not masking on the lift, but I'm not getting on the lift with people I don't know. Sometimes I do, but it's not every time, so it's not common. And also, if you think about this, on the lift, there's a strong winds, constant airflow. I think the risk is relatively small, even though we're sitting close to each other, relatively speaking. So you have to decide what would you consider a moderate to high risk and continue masking. I think that unless you're in an enclosed room with someone for a prolonged period of time, just a regular clothes or surgical probably better is okay. If you're in an enclosed space, like we go into doctor's office, I'd suggest you wear KN95 or N95, just like the same way. And I'll update regarding this when I feel comfortable. But for now, I think that's my position for time being. And the only last thing in terms of the news is unfortunate, basically a failure of the effectiveness of vaccine for kids under 5. I hate to say I expected that, but I did. You remember me saying that. So basically FDA halting approval because the efficacy is so low, they could not justify it. I think it's an interesting piece of news. I think there is a beginning of realization that vaccines are just not as effective as we were told. I think they're still going to play a major role in overall comfort of our lives and moving forward. But unfortunately, they are not going to change the trajectory of the pandemic moving to endemic. And actually, that's all I wanted to say. That's just quite 208. So let's see if we have any questions. If we don't, I'm happy to sacrifice the time for our NN team today. My favorite NN team. All right, let's see. I'll put something. There was a recent study that talked about how those who have been vaccinated have less chances of getting long COVID. Honestly, not surprising. I forget that exact percentage. So I'm cautious about studies like this. It's not enough time to claim this. To be honest with you, my experience, I see no difference. I see tons of severe long COVID and post-vaccinated patients. I would be very careful at interpreting studies like this until we have a significant amount, until we have several of such studies. The problem with these studies is very simple. Think of it this way. People who are vaccinating are not going to be who are vaccinated, especially earlier. They're potentially going to look very different, or they're going to be different from the ones who didn't. So there's going to be a biases in the selection here. And that makes you completely impossible to interpret the result of study like this until we get the randomized study, which we will not. You understand why? We're not going to get randomized studies here. So we actually will never have the answer be clear. We will have data supporting this notion, and I hope that's true. But I would be very careful at interpreting such data for multiple reasons. And if you have not seen my interview with a professor of Hawaii University who actually studies biases, that's her expertise, please do so. I'll put the link to that YouTube video. And the importance of that is you need to understand that often the studies like this are useless. They are misinterpreting and misdirecting understanding of the issue because of the inherited biases in how the study is done. And we know again and again that when you then finally do a randomized study, it completely annihilates the previous results. And it happens somewhere in 70 to 90% of all such cases. And so chances are that misinterpretation here is very high. That's why I would be super careful at interpreting anything like this, even though that I wish that would be true for obvious reasons, right? All right, I'll put that link so you guys can take a look. And by all means, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's my new, it's gonna be short videos, except for this most recent one that I did on love at the age of 80 plus. I can't obviously say that I have experience in that, but I interviewed people who do. Okay, Al, is that, I know it's not a satisfactory answer, but I don't think I have a better response to you. And I'm sure DNA plays a role. I'm sure there's a really strong suggestion that long COVID is based on some DNA factors or some genetic factors. Problem is, it's not yet clear how to translate to prevention. So we don't know if I test somebody and I found factors, what am I going to do for them? I don't think that worked out yet. Okay, there are those wanting a second booster in light of BA2 taking off necessary. Absolutely not. To be honest with you, you heard my statement. I am not even sure that the booster is required now, first booster for absolutely everybody. I think that we need to start concentrating on high-risk populations. I think we need to start being very careful at putting blank statements on the whole public. There's multiple risks involved in that, because you know what will happen when we're going to start seeing periodic rare side effects. It's just going to blow things out of proportion. So we have to really concentrate on figuring out how do we select those at high risk and protect them the most. Now, we don't know that yet very well. So I understand that if anybody feels like getting second booster, I have nothing against it, but I'm saying that I do not think that the efficacy is going to be so high that it will be justifiable. There may be a better model altogether. It's a little bit more European style. That has to do more with more aggressive antibody testing so that you know your own protective mechanism. Now, the tests also have their own problems. The total amount of antibodies, the quantitative measures can be done. It's not 100% clear that they are foolproof, meaning if you have a high level, doesn't mean necessarily you are completely protected, but it's predictive of milder disease for sure. Similarly, if you get a shot first, or a booster first or a second booster, you're supposed to have a milder disease too. So those are the things. So in the future, I'm guessing once we move into endemic, we're going to start exploring those testing strategies more aggressively. And with that, I don't see any other questions unless I missed something. Did I miss anything? Janet, am I good? Are we good? I think we're good. Okay. So next Friday, I won't be here, I think. I will try, but I may not be. Angela's turning big birthday date, and I'm taking her for a few days to a warm climate. But if I can, I will come. So with that, Nyle, with that amazing background, whatever that is.
I'm in the mountains of Sedona.
That's what I thought.
Thank you, Dr. Kuzin. It's nice to see you balancing joy and play with work. And I also picked up on a little bit of a brace on your thumb. I hope everything's okay.
Yeah, so sometimes when you enjoy yourself too much and you have to anticipate other people not being as experienced. So I was doing a standard jump, about 10 feet jump, and there's a guy standing underneath the jump. Things happen. So I just landed head into him. All I could do is lift my hands and broke his pole in half with my wrist. Luckily, my wrist doesn't seem to be broken. So, but I'm back skiing, and everything seems to be okay except for that pole. It was replacement.
Well, I'm glad you're not more hurt than that, and it's nice to see you're protecting it. And it's actually a beautiful segue to what I'm going to talk about today, because I'm going to talk a little bit about wrist injuries, but more specifically chronic repetitive strain that leads to wrist injuries. So again, just a brief introduction. My name is Nyle MacFarlane. I am an occupational therapist. And what that means is I specialize in looking at how our occupations either inhibit function or we can use them to increase our function. More specifically, I specialize in something called fascia. And the last few times that I've come on here, I've talked a lot about fascia and how to create flow in the body, how to release stagnation and set yourself up for a good quality of life. So I want to build on that a little bit more today, and talk about a concept in fascial therapies that most fascial therapists really is kind of the foundation to the work that we do. And it's this idea of when you have pain, look elsewhere for the source. And I think this is kind of a novel concept, but definitely something that is on more people's radars these days, because more people than ever are experiencing computer-related strain. More people than ever are experiencing something called tech neck. So if you're not at a computer, you're still using some form of technology, which kind of causes the body to slump forward. And I want to help address that today, right? So I'm going to, at the end of my talk, I'm going to give a solution that everyone can start to implement today. And I like to try to always do that when I have these talks, is to give you something that you can implement right away. So I'm going to do that today. So while I'm talking, if you want to join me in it at the end, you're welcome to do so. What I'll need you to do is grab a bath towel. So one of the bigger bath towels, not a little hand towel. And you can do this now while I'm talking, and you can still hear me talking, especially if you have headphones on. So if you want to join me at the end, go grab yourself a bath towel now. And if you're not in a place to do so, try this afterwards, just so that you can get it in your body and see what it feels like. So what is fascia, first of all, and how is fascial therapy different from traditional massage? Well, the main thing that makes fascial therapy or fascial treatment different from massage treatment is the time element, honestly. Fascia is the connective tissue that surrounds every muscle of the body, every fiber of the muscle, every organ, every blood vessel. In fact, we're made up of fascia down to the cellular level. It's what separates the cells from one another, and it's also inside of the nucleus of the cell. So you can safely say we're made up of fascia. And what fascia is this beautiful viscous or liquid-like webbing. It looks very much like a spider web, actually. And it compartmentalizes the different parts of the muscles and allows the muscles to glide and slide along each other. The issue is when we sit in a certain posture for prolonged periods of time, the body will start to thicken, the fascia will start to thicken and get denser in parts of the body from repetitive strain. An example of that I had mentioned is computer-related strain, or something called tech neck. What tech neck is a forward-headed posture that happens from sitting at a computer, but it can also happen from being pregnant, holding babies, nursing babies, or anything that kind of requires you to lean forward. I also see people who drive a lot for work, that headrest kind of pushes their head forward. So there are a lot of different situations in which someone can end up with a forward folded posture. And what happens is the tissue in the back of the neck will start to thicken and dense. The fascia will get thickened and dense back here in an effort to hold the weight of the head, because these muscles in the front are not designed to take the weight of the head. They're meant to rotate the head. So now you end up with kind of this hump, you know, that can happen right here in the C7 vertebral column right there. So now, you know, if you have any sort of like hump in the back here, it's probably related to thick and dense tissue. So what can you do about it? Well, I had mentioned that what separates traditional muscle therapy or massage therapy from fascial therapy is the time element. Fascia responds to slow, sustained pressure over an extended period of time. And when you hold a technique, whether it's a pressure technique or a stretch, for 3 to 5 minutes or more, you end up getting this phase transition where the fascial tissue, the fibrotic tissue will go from a more solid state to a more liquid-like state. And that's fascia's natural state, is a beautiful, open, viscous, three-dimensional web. So to get that fascial tissue to go from a solid fibrotic state to a more liquid, open state, you want to either apply pressure or apply a stretch for 3 to 5 minutes. Right? Does that make sense to everyone? That's the difference between traditional massage, but it's also the difference between traditional stretch and a fascial stretch. So if you're waking up in the morning and doing a yoga flow or any type of stretch, if you're sitting at your desk and doing something like this, even right now, if you're just kind of doing some stretching like this, which I highly encourage, you're only stretching the superficial layers of your body. You're stretching the muscle fiber, and you are stretching the fascia, but you're stretching the already stretchy parts, which is good. We want to maintain the stretchy parts. Those stretchy parts are known as elastin fibers, okay? So those elastin fibers are the superficial layers of our fascia, and they respond great to short stretches, 30-second stretches. So please do the 30-second stretches to maintain what you already have. But I want to talk to you about how to break patterns, how to rebuild your body, and how to get out of the pain that you're in right now. I'm interested in pain management. So if you want to work with the pain in your body, you need to find the symptoms, which are the pain, but then look elsewhere for the source, okay? And that's what I want to talk to you a little bit more about now. So what are some examples of where we experience pain and where else the source may be in the body? Can I have people who are watching right now and who aren't grabbing bath towels, can you type in where you may be experiencing some pain right now, and maybe I can help you find the source. Otherwise, I'm just going to speak to some generalities. So one of the most common correlations that I see, beautiful. So low back and shoulders I'm seeing, left knee. Wow, thank you. Mid back, lots and lots. So can I go with the shoulders and the low back? So I'm going to address pain in the shoulders from a fascial perspective and pain in the low back from a fascial perspective. Okay. So pain in the shoulders, if you have pain in the shoulders and you're wanting to address it from a fascial perspective, do you treat the shoulders? Do you go in there and kind of work on those knots and try to work out the shoulders? Probably yes. You probably go up to your friend or your partner and you say, can you just like stick an elbow in here? Or you find yourself digging in there all the time? Yes, because we are conditioned to go to the source of pain. However, after today, I hope you start to think differently and go to the origin of what's pulling on the shoulders, which 9 times out of 10 is lower down. All right. So if you have shoulder issues and low back issues, those two are probably correlated. If you just have shoulder issues, I guarantee you there's probably a restriction somewhere further down in the body. And here's why. So I'm going to use a visual here to demonstrate why. So I have kind of an open webbing stocking here, and this is very much what fascia looks like. And I'm just going to slide it on. So you can see this beautiful open webbing here. This is what your fascial tissue looks like. And this is covering, let's say it's covering the shoulder and covering out into the arm. So you have this beautiful 3-dimensional web, and up here is kind of the lower half of the body. If I have a restriction, say in the abdomen or somewhere lower down, that restriction starts to pull and get fibrotic, as I talked about earlier. The fibrotic tissue becomes very cordy and dense. Then slowly over time, it starts to pull on the rest of the body. And then you see what starts to happen at the top here. It's pulling everything down. And what you end up with is overstretching at the site of the restriction. The restriction is down lower in the body, and overstretching in the site of the restriction. And then see how what was once this small uniform fascial webbing has now become overstretched and dense. So if this is my shoulder, it's now pulling on my shoulder and pulling me down. So you can treat this and get some symptom relief, but if you want to manage the pain, you go to the site. Slow sustained pressure over an extended period of time or a slow stretch can open up the site. Once you get that fibrotic tissue to melt, to literally melt, phase transition from 3 to 5 minutes, then it starts to open back up again. And what you're left with is kind of this uneven disbursement of fascial tissue. And that's where movement comes in. That's where the stretching and the yoga and all of that comes in, where you can get up and move around. And eventually it will start to come back to this beautiful uniform position. You see it's still a little overstretched up here, so you're going to still have some pain. But over time, with consistent treatment and flowy movement, you can get this uniform shape back again. So that applies to all parts of the body, the shoulders and also the low back. What do you do about it? I mentioned I'm going to show a technique at the end, but there's more than just self-treatment, and I want to be very clear about that, okay? The first step really is awareness. So if you're having low back pain or you're having shoulder pain, the first step is understanding where it came from. Sometimes it's a moment in time that caused an acute injury, but oftentimes it's not. And that's where I see my patients get very frustrated, is they really want one definitive answer. It happened because of this, or it got worse after this, so it must be related to this, right? I had a skiing accident, now my wrist hurts, but Your wrist may have been hurting before through chronic repetitive strain, and you just didn't notice it until you had that moment that broke the camel's back, literally. Okay. That's usually how fascial pain works. And that's usually what we need to be talking about when we're talking about true root cause pain management. So find out what's causing the pain and trust that it's not usually one thing. I gave you some cues here. Computer-related strain, driving, pregnancy and childbirth, anything that keeps you hunched over in this chronic position, that's causing a pulling down here. The second step is modify that environment. So once you know what's causing it, modify the situation. Let's use computers as an example. Most of us are sitting at computers more. I did a talk earlier on, so if you Google the Mindfulness Experience talks and my name, Nyle MacFarlane, you'll find I did an environmental modifications talk. But at its most basic, I can tell you when you're sitting at a computer, you want to be thinking about being in a 90, 90, 90 degree position. So what that looks like is you sit with your hips at 90 degrees, your knees at 90 degrees, and your ankles at 90 degrees. So sitting on the floor. I'll answer any questions at the end, but please continue to put them in the chat. The third thing you want to do after you've created awareness and figured out where it is, then you've modified your environment to make sure you're sitting at 90, 90, 90. Then you want to start to find ways to build in breaks. And that's what I'm going to show you now. So again, let's talk about this computer related strain, because I think that that's the most relevant to most of us. It certainly is for me. I'll share with you that I'm having carpal tunnel pain for the first time in my entire 41 years of life. I have been a manual therapist working on bodies for almost 15 years. I'm just now experiencing carpal tunnel syndrome. Do you think it's related to me using my physical hands? The symptoms are in the hands. No, it's related to the fact that I'm spending more time on the computer than ever before. In fact, over half of my business is now online. So it's not a coincidence that suddenly I'm experiencing carpal tunnel. Because I'm a fascial worker, I know that that is coming from higher up in the body. So I'm going to show everyone now what they can do to start to open up through the body. So step number 3 is, after you figure out what's causing it and you've modified your environment, you still need to take breaks. I wish I could give you a workaround, but I'm afraid I can't. Just take the break. How long are you going to take the break for? 3 to 5 minutes. And what I'd like you to do in those 3 to 5 minutes, because not all movement breaks are created equally, is you're going to get a fascial stretch in your body. So if you've grabbed a towel, join me now, and we're going to I'm going to teach you how to fold up the towel and do the technique together. We're going to stretch on the floor together. So you're going to take this giant bath towel, bring it all the way out, and then fold it in half, long ways. You see that? Then fold that in half, like so. Right, so first long ways, and then fold the whole thing in half. Then roll it up to make a little bit of a Tootsie Roll. Then you're going to lie down on the floor. So this is important too, because it allows you to get away from the computer. So you're actually going to step away from the work that's causing the pain, come over to the floor and lie down on the floor. You could also do this on the bed. And in the future, just have this towel laying on the bed for you later. Come down away from the computer. All of you can join me in this now. Then you're going to take that rolled up towel and place it so that the top of the towel lines up with the top of the shoulders. All right, you can see the top of the towel lines up with the top of the shoulders. The towel goes right along the spine. And don't worry, your spine will be okay. This towel is soft enough. Then palms come facing up. Bend your elbows at 90 degrees. Palms face up, almost like a field goal position. Keep your feet flat on the bed or the floor. That helps preserve your low back a little bit. And then just settle into it. And this is your work for the next 3 to 5 minutes. I recommend playing music in the background, playing a song. Most songs are about 3 minutes long. So if you can pick a song or two, that's 3 to 5 minutes. Play that in the background, lie on this towel and begin to focus on your breath. Feel where you're feeling the stretch in your body, and that becomes the focal point along with your breath, breathing into the place that you're feeling it stretch. This is a pretty universal stretch that most people can do, and it's modified for most bodies. This is not the extreme version. Now, this part's important too, okay? To come out of this, you're going to roll to one side and then push yourself up to sit, because you're going to be in that for 3 to 5 minutes. So you're actually going to create structural change in the front of the body. If the pain is in the back, look elsewhere for the source. We're treating the source in the front, all right? That's gonna help to relieve most carpal tunnel syndrome, because carpal tunnel is usually related to tension in the shoulder. Shoulder tension is usually related to tension in the base and the lower down in the pelvis. Back tension is usually related to shoulder tension, quite frankly. And I will get into a lot more in what something that I'm running called the Pain Relief Clinic. So I have limited time here, but I promise I really do get into a much wider, more holistic scope of all the different ways pain shows up in your body and where a lot of the key sources are, because I know people want answers at the end of the day. But like I said, it's usually a multi-step approach. Step 1 being increase your awareness. What's causing your pain? What are you doing repetitively? Step 2 being modify that environment. Step 3 being take breaks, 3 to 5 minutes. Not all breaks are created equal. Get a good fascial stretch in your body during that break. And then step 4, find a way to treat yourself on a regular basis, treatment and exercise, in order to get the fascial webbing to maintain its open viscosity and flow. And if you want to learn more about this and take kind of a deeper dive on the pain management, I highly recommend joining my pain relief clinic. You can go to blueniletherapy.com, and it's on the calendar page. And maybe Janet can type it in, or I can type it in later. All right, I think I'm about out of time, but let me see if there are any questions. Okay. Yeah, Al, so this is something I can answer privately in the chat. So Al asked, what do you recommend for folks not wanting to hunch over as they get older? Does fascia help with maintaining bone density? Open fascia helps with maintaining bone density, and a good quality of life comes when you have some sort of regular maintenance program. So that usually includes fascial treatment or fascial therapies. So again, I can get into a lot more of this in the Pain Relief Clinic if you're interested in joining. It's donation based, by the way, and all proceeds go to funding health equity scholarships for my work. So please join if you're interested. All right, thank you. Make sure you get time.
Thank you, Nyle. I have a feeling that this has been about a week and a half now, so I may very well start doing what you just told us for my own wrist. I kind of wonder, though, if indeed you're right, that with all the typing and then the trauma
breaks the camel's back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So very timely. All right, so off to Nina, and I'll see you guys all either next week or the week after.
Bye, Misha.
Bye.
Hi, everyone. It's great to be here this Friday afternoon with all of you. And I'm going to be talking today, and we'll engage in some practices related to the theme of evoking positive emotions as a way to reduce worry and stress and to increase our resilience. So we will start out with a short meditation on gratitude. And you'll do a brief writing reflection based on the gratitude meditation. And then I'm going to talk about the stress mindset. So there's some new research, or actually in the new science of stress, this field, there's some research showing that there are certain stress mindsets that are more resilient, that we should follow in terms of managing stress better and better for our health as well. And then we'll close with loving kindness meditation. So I'd like to start with the gratitude meditation. So go ahead and get into your mindful posture. So just sitting in a relaxed manner. You could be lying down as well or leaning back. And start to feel your feet against the floor. Feel your legs and buttocks against the chair, the cushion. Allowing yourself to drop into the support that's beneath you. You can close your eyes or have a soft gaze downward. You can bring more ease to the body by softening the hands, perhaps noticing the hands resting on your thighs or your lap. And softening the belly, relaxing the belly. We can bring our shoulders down away from our ears, softening the shoulders. Relaxing the jaw, the mouth and the tongue. And softening the eyes and the eyelids. Releasing and softening in the forehead as best you can. Relaxing the face. Now getting a sense of your whole body sitting here breathing, feeling into the length of the body. Sensing the body's position. Getting a sense of arriving here in the present moment as you feel into your body and you feel your breath moment to moment. And see if you can bring a warm and kind welcome to yourself, as you would a dear friend. Bringing acceptance and kindness to whatever is arising for you. And just allowing yourself to be as you are. Not trying to change anything, achieve anything, do anything. Just allowing yourself to be. Letting be and letting go. Fully inhabiting your body, feeling your breath moment by moment. Now call to mind one thing in your life you're feeling really grateful for. It might be an experience or a person, an achievement, it can be big or small. And so calling that to your mind's eye, picturing it, visualizing it. And asking yourself the question, why am I grateful for this? Why is this a good thing? And see what arises. Why is this meaningful? Feeling into the benefit that this has had on you or has for you now. So giving yourself space to answer this question of why. And then sending out your gratitude in whatever words are calling you to do, to say. Maybe it's a thank you, or I'm very grateful and appreciative for this. Thank you so much. Expressing that gratitude. Remembering to check into the breath and the body at any time so you feel grounded and present. So continue to express this gratitude. Taking in deeply any feelings in the body of warmth and positivity. Allowing them to sink in. Noticing what your body feels like as you're expressing gratitude and feeling grateful in the face, in the chest, in the belly. What is the body feeling like? And then bringing this meditation to a close when you're ready, taking that deep breath in, deep breath out, and gently opening your eyes, coming back into the room. As you're transitioning your attention back into the room, you can stretch if you like, move around, whatever you need to do to reorient your attention to the screen, having your writing journal next to you and your pen. Maybe you have a piece of paper. And just take a few moments to write down what came to mind, that one thing you were grateful for, and write down why. Why you're grateful for it, or why you were grateful for it. And you can write more later if you like and add 2 more things to this gratitude list. But for this particular practice, because of the time constraints, just one. All right. So adding the why, the reason to why you're grateful for something, can give you a more deeper and profound sense of it. And you're more likely to carry the beneficial effects with you longer. And so gratitude is an evidence-based practice, one of the most well-researched practices in the field of positive psychology. And by evoking gratitude in moments, just simple things, or like we just did in this more detailed writing exercise, is really good for the brain and for the body. And I'll be including links to the research. I've actually sent them to Janet, so she'll post them in the show notes. I want to move into now this concept of stress mindset. So in the new science of stress field, it shows that how we are explaining our problems to ourselves, our stress, has a powerful influence over how we experience it and manage it. And we can first use mindful awareness to become aware of how we explain our problems to ourselves. And there's 3 particular dimensions to that. So it's known as the 3 Ps. P is in Paul, Peter. So you don't have to write anything down. This is all of this information is being sent to you. But the Ps are permanent, personal, and pervasive. And pessimistic people tend to view their problems and stress as permanent. It's always going to be this way. They personalize it and take full blame for the problem, instead of seeing, that there were a multitude of factors that might have caused this problem. And they tend to view it with the sense that this is pervasive. It's affecting all of my life rather than just one area. And optimistic people, view stress or a problem the opposite way, that it's temporary, it's not going to last. It's more, it's not just personal, there's external reasons for it, that this occurred. And that it's not pervasive. It's just, this is just one area of my life that this is happening. Other areas of my life are going quite well. And so it's really important to start to tune into, how do you explain your problems to yourself? Do you tend to talk to your way in this to yourself in this pessimistic way, or an optimistic way? And the information being sent to you will give you more details and the writing exercise that goes with this. But one very easy way to do this is to start viewing your stress or your problem as a challenge versus a threat. And so when we, just name our problem and look at it as a challenge, then we tend to feel more empowered and energized about solving it. And we can also understand that we can turn to others we can connect with others to help us with this problem and understand that that's part of our common humanity, that everybody struggles with some kind of stress. So it's a way to feel connected and a sense of belonging. And the third way is to know that you're going to learn and grow from this stress, that there will be some gains coming from it, even though it's a difficult thing. And I'm not talking about something traumatic, but in the field of trauma research, post-traumatic growth is actually a very real concept in how people recover and grow from even traumatic experiences. But that's a different field. I'm talking more about our problems of daily living. And so those three things, right, that my stress is a challenge. I can cope with this. I feel empowered, that I'm going to end up learning and growing from this, expanding my mind, maybe expanding my resources, and knowing that I can reach out to others, and social connection is very healthy. And this is actually what is shown in the new science of stress, that if we take these three approaches, that we actually have a different stress response in our physiology. So stress chemicals like oxytocin and other stress chemicals that are highly beneficial for our heart and our immune system get released. So I find this research very fascinating, that just by changing our mindset in this way towards a problem that's occurring, we actually harness the power of our stress response and have some control over it, so that the effects on our body are beneficial. And so there's information in the Upside of Stress links that Janet will be sending you, and you can dive more deeply into this. I thought it was very much worth mentioning because it's something that we don't really think about. And you could also bring this mindset into your mindful moments. So if you're stopping and taking that mindful pause and just taking a few breaths and becoming present, you could just take your focus to a small thing that's positive. And if you're having a problem, say your dog, just went to the bathroom on the rug, and that's like not, an earth-shattering thing, but even something like that, you could say to yourself, all right, this is a challenge. I'll clean this up. This is not threatening. Because most of the time, because we're wired to remember stressful things and to look for stress and threats, most of the time our mind, when it's wandering, we're wandering and thinking about stress, and we're not in the present moment. So we can refocus our lens of attention onto the positive in this way, viewing our stress as a challenge, something we're going to grow from. If we need more help, we can reach out to others. And the minor and moderate hassles, we can view this way, and then also take in moments of beauty and gratitude. So I'd like to close our class with a very brief grounding exercise, meditation once again. So you can close your eyes and look downward. And take a deep breath in, deep breath out. And just taking that moment to feel into your body, feel your breath, ground yourself in this moment, moment to moment. And bring in that feeling of gratitude once again. For the good things in your life. And then opening your eyes and coming back into the room. Deep breath in, deep breath out. So just want to remind you, there's a couple of GWCIM events happening this weekend. Tomorrow we are having an Mbsr Orientation. So if you're wondering about Mbsr, this 8-week program that's now being offered by myself and Cynthia Powell, this is a great orientation to attend, to learn more about it and how it's different than just an intro to mindfulness class or a mindfulness meditation session, and why it's evidence-based and so effective and considered the gold standard of mindfulness programs in medicine. And then on Sunday, there is a retreat from 9 to 3 p.m. online, and all are welcome. If you have taken Mbsr, it's free, or if you're in a current Mbsr program at GWCIM, it's free. And for others, it's $50, and it's a wonderful way to get a mini retreat experience in meditation. And I'll have Janet also put that in the show notes, so it's handy. So, all right. Thank you very much, everyone. Take care.